Yeah, friends, good afternoon to all of you. And it is a great privilege for all of us to participate in this World IP Day celebrations, being active professionals in the area of IP. And we are thankful to World Intellectual Property, new one, World Intellectual Property Organization, which has initiated celebrating this World IP Day. In fact, organizing this World IP Day is a brainchild of program. It is a brainchild of WIPO to organize this World Intellectual Property Day across the globe, particularly with a view to honor, celebrate, encourage youth, to embrace with new ideas, out of the box thinking, disruptive thought process, that is the basis for which new ideas comes to the marketplace. So it is a great event for all of us. So we all know the importance of IP in our day-to-day life and the socio-economic development of our nations. Considering this in mind, Andhra University Visakhapatnam is one of the oldest and largest state university funded by the government, has taken this initiative to organize this, to celebrate this World Intellectual Property Day in collaboration with WIPO, Geneva, and USPTO through its Indian office in American Embassy in New Delhi and the National Innovation Agency, Sri Lanka. So we all and our media partner, the Visakhapatnam Industrial Scan, Vizag Scan we call it, they have got a good reach to all the industries and academic institutions in the state. So we thought if all of us could join in celebrating this event, definitely we can make an impact among our stakeholders. So that is the purpose and objective of this event today. And I would like to welcome address. But the chief guest, can I announce? So why we were getting delayed is that actually I'm very sorry. My apologies for starting the event a little bit late because of some emergency exigency has happened. Our chief guest, Mr. Vijay Sai Reddy Garu, is supposed to address as a chief guest of this function because the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh has called for some urgent meeting. He had to rush to the capital, Amaravati of Andhra Pradesh. So he has sent his good wishes and congratulatory message on his Twitter. This was also tagged to the Prime Minister of India, the Commerce and Industry Minister, Mr. Piyush Goyal, of course, UNDP and the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh. So, in his absence, we are requesting our Honorable Vice Chancellor to be the chief guest of today's function. Chief guest of today's function, a visionary and very dynamic Honorable Vice Chancellor of Andhra University, Professor PVGD Prasad Reddy Garu, who is laying a very strong foundation for research, development, intellectual property rights, innovation, entrepreneurship, and startups, and providing totally a new direction and inspiring leadership to the university to position Andhra University as one of the top 10 universities in the country. Sir, We are all very fortunate to have you as our leader, driving Team Andhra University in realizing the vision for the university. The partners in organizing this international webinar, Mr. David Simmons, a counselor at World Intellectual Property Organization, Geneva, Mr. John Kabeka, United States Intellectual Property Counselor for South Asia, USPTO, US Embassy in New Delhi, Professor Ajit D. Alvis, the Chief Innovation Officer at National Innovation Agency, Sri Lanka, Mr. Aditya Sabharwal, the CEO of Vizag Industrial Scan and moderator of this program. We are very grateful to WIPO, USPTO, NIA, PAS, and others for readily accepting our request to jointly organize this very important international webinar. Our Rector, Professor K. Samata Madam, Registrar, Professor V. Krishnamohan, Principals, Heads of Department, Faculty members, students, national and international participants, AP State IP Champions Quiz Competition awardees, my colleagues from Center for Intellectual Property Rights, and friends from media. I extend my warm welcome and happy World IP Day 2022 greetings to all of you. On behalf of Andhra University and on my own behalf for the World IP Day celebrations and international webinar. Today is also our university's 97th Foundation Day. I wish all the employees of Andhra University a very happy Foundation Day. The theme of the World IP Day 2022 is IP and Youth, Innovating for a Better Future. The theme is very apt for India, as India is the youngest country in the world, with 65% of the population is under the age of 35 years and with a lot of innovative ideas. Though our patent filings are improving over the last 5 years, we have yet to realize our full potential. To realize our full potential, we need to spend more on R&D. India spends only 0.7% of its GDP on research and development against 3 to 4% by the USA, China, and other advanced economies. As per the report submitted to Indian Parliament by the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Commerce, chaired by Professor Mr. Vijay Sai Reddy, the Honorable Member of Parliament, he said India's IPR regime requires a makeover and drastic IPR reforms to improve India's national IP environment, particularly to the demand side. So what is happening is that a lot of IPs are being created, but there is a need for utilizing those IPs, the patents particularly. If you want to utilize those patents granted by the government, what he said in his report is that there is a need for establishing an institute for commercializing those innovations or patents. So it's a very remarkable and very sweeping recommendation he has made. Now this is the great opportunity exists for all the institutions to contest and bid for establishing such kind of an institute in our country. In fact, agencies like WIPO and USPTO can help India in establishing such kind of an institute. Similar kind of international institutions are existing, so we can leverage the expertise of those countries. So the report was very well appreciated by many advanced economies, including USA. On our part at Andhra University, we have been taking several innovative initiatives to promote IP innovation, entrepreneurship, and startups. We have introduced IPR as a mandatory credit course in UG and PG programs, drafted and implementing university IPR policy, and aggressively organizing several capacity building programs and establishing several domain-specific innovation and incubation centers. These initiatives are going to help the youth in converting their ideas into wealth creation and employment opportunities in the next 3 to 5 years. Coming to today's program, the international seminar will have 3 keynote addresses from USPTO, WIPO, and NIA. We have also conducted AP IPR Champions Quiz Competition for students of Andhra Pradesh, and the winners of the competition would be announced. At the end, there will be a question and answer session. The program will be moderated by Mr. Aditya Sabharwal. I welcome you all once again to the webinar. Thank you and Jai Hind. Over to Aditya. Mr. Aditya, are you online?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, yes.
Dr. Purushottamji, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and I think we are extremely glad to be part of this really, really coveted webinar again, Purushottamji. I think it's the second year that we've partnered with, with the most esteemed and coveted university, also, the US Embassy here, and WIPO, obviously. So, without just, I think, delaying more further time, I'll just hand it over to our chief guest, Professor Reddy ji, who can give us a quick, note on the keynote speaker here.
Yeah, good afternoon, one and all. I deem it a great honor to extend a cordial welcome to the partners in organizing this international webinar. Mr. David Simmons, counselor at WIPO, Geneva. Mrs. John Kebika, United States Intellectual Property Counselor for South Asia. Professor Ajit D. Alvis, Chief Innovation Officer, NIA, Sri Lanka. The Registrar of Andhra University, Professor Krishna Mohan, Professor Samatha, and Professor H. Purushottam, the IPR Chair Professor at Andhra University, and Mr. Aditya Sabarwal, the media partner and moderator of the webinar, all the other distinguished administrators of Andhra University, the participants from across the globe, and friends from media. Wish you happy World IP Day and warm greetings as we organize this international webinar on this 26th of April, the World IP Day, under a theme on IP and youth, innovating for a better future. The theme is very apt, not only for India, but more particularly for the Andhra University. The theme is apt for India as India is the youngest country in the world, where 65% of the population is under the age group of 35 years. It is even more apt for Andhra University as this university was established on April 26th. And today, the youth on the campus are celebrating the 97th foundation day of this university. The youth is always a synonym for courage, brevity, and can dare to dream. If you provide a right governance, policy support, and incentives that can change the world, the recent initiatives taken by the Government of India as well as Government of Andhra Pradesh, they have emerged in a way that India has emerged as a third largest innovation, entrepreneurship, and startup ecosystem in the world. Intellectual property, in fact, forms the backbone of a knowledge-based economy. And according to Economic Survey 2021-22, the domestic filing of patents, in fact, rose from 30% in the last 5 years, whereas the number of patents granted during the same period almost tripled. A total of 58,502 patents were filed during 2020 and 21, while 28,391 patents were granted in the same period. It is interesting to note that India has now witnessed 45% of domestic filings in the year 2019-20, as against mere just 20% in 2013 and 14. There is an increasing share from India, especially from Indian economic sector also. Of course, this number, whatever that we have claimed, are too small compared to some countries like China, which files almost about 15 lakh patents, and US, we all know that it files almost about 7 lakh patents every year. One of the reasons for the relatively low patents in India is low expenditure on especially R&D kind of activities, which is almost, as it was mentioned by Professor Purushottam just now in his remarks, it's only just hardly 0.07% of GDP in 2020. This number is in fact a very small fraction of the patents filed and granted in China and the US. And India possesses a large pool of creative individuals with very efficient and innovative ideas. And especially when you look at the current generation of the youth, they are popularly called as Gen Z, okay, Generation Z, and as well as the previous generation, a decade older than these people, millennials. Both these millennials and Gen Z, in fact, they are being called as change makers. They are in fact pragmatists and are not afraid to speak out and challenge the status quo. Today's youth, in fact, they are digital natives. They grew up in a connected world with mobile phones and the internet, where the lines, the physical and the digital world is almost blurred. This has shaped a generation that is arguably the most entrepreneurial, innovative, and creative. Calling all the young people across the world, and more particularly about the young people, okay, in my Andhra University, where your ambitions lie, the arts, the science, the technology, the engineering, it's all a creative and innovative kind of a mindset backed up with the IP rights would definitely help you to make a difference. So youngsters, get involved in this year's campaign and find out what IP can, in fact, do for you. We are aware that one should also learn. It's a very important point at this particular stage, especially having looked at companies like Google, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, etc. And one must always learn from all these big tech companies. In the sense a lot of their companies' values. Okay, in fact that value, the company value, is in the intellectual property, like the patents, the trademarks, the designs, copyrights that they hold. And IP, in fact, is the biggest asset for them, as the IP rights they secure on their inventions give them exclusive rights and competitive business advantage. And as such, okay, to foster IP cooperation between several nations, collaborative efforts, because this is an international kind of a webinar. This is very important because to foster this IP across various nations, some kind of collaborative efforts are always important with all the other countries and international organizations through so-called MOUs and all. And Andhra University always, in fact, we are very active in that particular direction. Especially, we have got an IPR chair, and Purushottam has been driving this particular chair. A number of MOUs also, in fact, took place, and very recently we took up an MOU with Purdue University. And such MOUs would always play a major role, and which will result in the exchange of crucial information on the best practices and expertise in IPR. There should also be some kind of consolidated efforts on the part of the government. In fact, especially government of Andhra Pradesh is very, very proactive, and government of India is also equally supportive to that. And the support from the industry, support from civil society, as well as the support from various national and international educational and research institutions functioning at all the levels, not only at the level of higher education, but schools, colleges, universities, etc. And it all evolves a robust IPR regime in line with WTO and TRIPS agreement. And I am happy to note that the IPR chair at Andhra University, in fact, is a very prestigious chair that Andhra University could get it a year back, thanks to the support that was given to us by Honorable Member of Parliament Rajya Sabha, who was supposed to, in fact, address as a chief guest today, Sri B. Vijay Sai Reddy Garu. In fact, with his support, in fact, Andhra University could able to get an IPR chair sanctioned to this university, and this particular chair is taking all the necessary steps to strengthen the IP ecosystem in the state of Andhra Pradesh. And in fact, Andhra University has been identified as a nodal agency for driving IPR policy in the state of Andhra Pradesh. And organizing this, World IP Day is one of those steps. The university has brought out, in fact, an IP policy, not only for Andhra University, but okay, it's been adopted across all the state universities. For the first time, it happened in the state, and it's being introduced in the curriculum also. And very recently, we have in fact mandated IPR as a curriculum in all the postgraduate programs that are being offered through Andhra University, because we have got about 7,000 postgraduate students on the campus, and in their second year, third semester, one of the subject that's been made mandatory is an IPR course. And this year we have also introduced this particular subject as a mandatory program for all BTech and B Pharmacy students also. And through successful implementation of the policy, the university aspires to bridge the gap between innovation, economic activity, and IPR in the state of Andhra Pradesh. And this will generate huge employment opportunities and wealth for the state. And that way, I must make a mention here that this year the placements on the campus has touched 100%, not only in the engineering college but also in the pharmacy college and also in College of Science and Technology. Even when you look at a course like botany, MSc botany, out of 60 students on the campus, 45 students were placed in that particular department, which indicates in fact the strength of offering this particular intellectual property rights as part of their curriculum. I should also mention here that Andhra University has recently transferred one of the patented technologies in the healthcare sector to industry for the first time in its 97 years of history, and laying a very strong foundation to build a sustainable and vibrant IP, innovation and startup ecosystem in the university campus, which will pave a way for positioning this university as one of the best universities in the state as well as in the world, in the times to come. With these few words, I declare the international webinar is inaugurated and look forward for the recommendations which we can implement. I wish the webinar a grand success. Thank you and Jai Hind. Over to Aditya.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your very inspiring message. And Aditya, please conduct the proceeding.
Thank you so much, sir. And you know what? I couldn't believe more, sir, having seen it ourselves firsthand. We've been reporting on this, and the achievements that I think that the university has made over the past couple of years, I think numbers speak for themselves, sir. I mean, just taking it from, that I think that our own IPRs have gone from, I think, 484 that I think were filed between 1920, and earlier they used to be 384. So I think the leadership, if once the message comes down clear, I think the implementing agencies makes it much more easier for them to go and implement this. So obviously, I think great hats off to our Dr. Purushottam ji, but being aptly supported by you, and your team to give him this free hand and to go ahead and really make IP a mandatory course for all the postgraduate programs. Having said that, I'll quickly go over to our another very special guest who's joining in all the way from Delhi, Mr. John Quebeca, who's also the US IP counselor for South Asia. If you're going to please invite Mr. John Quebeca to please come and address the gathering. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya, and nice to see you as well as Vice Chancellor and Professor Purushottam. It's great to see you all again. Sorry we can't be there in person, but glad that we're here today celebrating World IP Day and we're very honored to be part of this program. So I did want to first take a moment to extend my own very heartfelt Happy World IP Day to all the participants there today. And as you know, this year's theme focuses on youth and creating a better future and capitalizing on the creativity and innovation of our youth to help us in solving the next big world problems, creating new technologies, or just improving the ones that we have today. And I think that the bigger part of this is, as we'll discuss through the different speakers today and in the Q&A, is how our economies and our marketplaces just become increasingly more and more global focused, innovation driven. They're powered by knowledge, creativity, and technology. each of which is supported by and warrants intellectual property protection. Intellectual property rights can support the goals of entrepreneurs and creators, help transform their ideas into reality, generate income, create jobs, and make a positive impact on the world around us. Overall, intellectual property culture is very important for both industry and academia, and for strengthening IP ecosystems in the country. And all of this is the need of the hour. I want to take a quick moment to briefly talk about my role as the IP counselor for the US here in South Asia, based in New Delhi. So there's basically three primary aspects to my position, and my team and I work tirelessly across the 8 countries of South Asia, focusing on 3 primary pillars. One is the government-to-government work that we do every day, where we share best practices, we monitor developments, and comment on regulation, rules, and legislation, and also provide technical assistance on certain aspects of IP law, and working both with the national government, state government, local governments, and within academic institutions to help create a better IP system. Turning to this year's theme of World IP Day, focusing on youth and innovation, could not be more relevant. We've seen the profound impact that good ideas protected through a world-class IP system, and the impact these ideas can have on humanity. From new and powerful technology that we can now wear on our wrists or carry in our pockets, to new methods of diagnosing and treating diseases. Intellectual property can not only improve lives, it can save lives. It can also create jobs and grow our economy, which is why we must always ensure that our IP system supports youth, supports small businesses, startups, individual inventors, and kind of in the theme of this year, if we're focusing on youth, I can basically say just support anyone younger than me, but I do think it's a worthy theme. And I'll tell you one quick story. I was recently visiting another country, and in this I discovered that and their IP system is very nascent. And one of the things I realized is while there was a lot of will within the government to build a stronger IP system, there was actually no culture of IP in the throughout the country, throughout the citizenship of the country, and there wasn't even an understanding that pirating or products or counterfeiting products was a bad thing. It's just doesn't even exist in their laws. So when I look at that, I realize that if we focus on youth, we help to build that culture faster. As they grow into the world, as they grow into their lives, they do that with this understanding of IP. Now, the good news is, India has taken some great steps in that direction. I've been really impressed with what I've seen with CPAM, DPIIT, especially with the Ministry of Education and what they're doing, and really bringing innovation in at the earliest stages of an academic journey, so that when students, in just a short few years, when they arrive in college, they'll have some basic knowledge that hopefully will help them excel even faster. So all of this is very promising, and I've been watching it with great interest and looking forward to seeing these great initiatives implemented. But I feel like world over, though, we still face this overall lack of knowledge and appreciation for intellectual property, the value of IP, and the need to enforce intellectual property rights so that IP holders can invest, invent, and commercialize new technologies. At every age, starting from preschool and continuing through college, we need a systemic, sustained IP educational effort to enlighten and inspire new generation of inventors and entrepreneurs. And as I mentioned, I feel we're taking great strides in that direction. But it's the future generations of inventors that will go on to invent things that we can barely dream of today. And I can't wait to see what they'll achieve next. Also, in addition to people of any age being able to innovate, in fact, anyone, no matter their age, their gender, their race, or their background, they can all be inventors. And to truly advance innovation and human progress, we must all work to broaden the innovation community and make sure that everyone knows that they too can change the world through the power of a single idea. We must identify the appropriate role models for young people and excite them about futures in science, engineering, technology, and math, or the STEM fields, helping them to bridge that gap between creativity and pursue careers in innovation. We can't all just be users of technology. Technology has come so far. We have to be careful that we don't become complacent as users of technology. World over, we need to actively encourage youth to pursue the careers in the STEM fields and to create a climate to advance technologies and keep coming up with new innovative solutions to the world's problems. We also, my apologies, one moment. That was technology, someone remotely turning on the speaker in my room, so I apologize for that. So I don't know if you could hear it through the headset, but I could definitely hear it. So, so I apologize for that. The other piece, when we talk about incentives to invest and incentives to invent, I wanted to talk a little bit about, and we mentioned this earlier, about the need to reinvest in our own development. So when we look at this, we call these IP-intensive industries, companies that take a portion of their revenue and reinvest that revenue back into research and development to improve technologies, create new technologies, and oftentimes that reinvestment involves academic institutions and partnerships between public-private partnerships and between academia, seeking to really advance the research on some of the cutting-edge technology. So in the US, we conducted a study on these IP-intensive industries, and the results I found were quite profound. Our IP-intensive industries accounted for 41% of the domestic economic activity in the US in 2019, which amounted to 7.8 trillion US dollars, or 530 lakh crore Indian rupees. So it really underscores the important role that IP plays in our economy, and it's important that IP rules that govern these are also very clear. Clarity and certainty in the patent system is essential for incentivizing investments, fostering competitiveness, and also for obtaining increased investments. You know, one note was speaking with a stakeholder that had invested, $20 million into some division within India, and everyone was very proud about it. But the stakeholder said, I really wanted to invest 200 million, but the landscape just wasn't stable enough yet. So, but I think that the potential is there, the momentum is there, the will is there. It's just getting there. And being at the USPTO for the past 32 years, I've seen how much we've evolved our own IP system. And even though it's said to be the best in the world, or one of the best in the world, it is constantly undergoing its own reevaluation, looking for new and better ways to do things. So speaking on investments, I'd like to talk about one other study from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And it's been several years ago now, but they had a study that showed a 1% increase in trademark protection increases foreign direct investment by 3.8%. It also showed a 1% improvement in patent protection increases foreign direct investment by 2.8%. And a 1% improvement in copyright protection increases FDI by nearly 7%. So this I found quite staggering, and I think it underscores really the importance of a strong intellectual property ecosystem, one that has strong enforcement to add value and security to the rights that they're being granted within respective countries and jurisdictions around the world. So with that, I wanted to just, I've probably been talking too long so far, so I will pause. I look forward to hearing our discussion and hearing your questions. I look forward to working with Andhra University and with the local, state, and national governments, as well as stakeholders, to address the grand challenge and to share best practices. All of us here on the front lines, we are agents of change, and we're here to help support and foster a global IP system for the future. So thank you very much again, and again, want to extend my heartfelt Happy World IP Day, and thanks for bringing us all together to help advance its goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. John, for your very thought-provoking ideas and the importance of IP in the US economy. Really, we have to learn a lot from the US IP ecosystem, because as we all know that the US IP is much higher valued across the globe. And in fact, it is a gold standard for IP professionals. The patents granted in the US are much more valued than in any other country. So a lot of things one can learn from US PTO and US IP system as a whole. And we are really thankful to you for sharing your vision, sharing your experiences with all of us. Aditya, please. I think now, because of the time zones difference, WIPO sent its recorded video. So we will be playing that video for the benefit of all the participants. The Director General of WIPO has sent his message on the eve of this World IP Day. We will be playing the 10 minutes video.
Good morning and greetings from Geneva, Switzerland. My name is David Simmons. I'm grateful to Andhra University and the organisers for inviting me to join this international webinar on intellectual property and youth, innovation for a better future. It is a pleasure to be here with you, even if it is virtual. As this event coincides with the World Intellectual Property Day.
So can you increase the voice?
Year to commence my address by first
as we develop a inclusive, not just IP specialists and IP experts, but with new, broader and more diverse communities around the world at the ground level. Global youth, our future innovators and creators, are at the heart of this work. Today, around half of the global population is around 30, and it is the fastest growing demographic in many parts of the world. This new generation of innovators and creators are already devising inventive ways of tackling local and global challenges. From developing tech platforms that deliver better healthcare to women and children in remote areas of India and Cameroon, to finding new ways of STEM education to pupils in Ghana, to building cutting-edge solutions that reduce carbon footprints in Mexico and France, young people are not just speaking up about the world that they want to see, they are taking action to make it happen. This year on World Intellectual Property Day, WIPO is celebrating the vision and dynamism of young innovators and creators everywhere. And at a time when humanity needs to come together to address a range of urgent challenges, from overcoming the pandemic to combating climate change and many others, we must help our youths to realize their innovation and creative potential. Yet we know that many young innovators and creators have only a limited awareness of IP and the role it can play in bringing their innovation journey forward. So that's why this year's World IP Day is an opportunity to close that gap. WIPO is working with many of you to develop new initiatives that will help youths use IP to translate their ideas into world-changing products and services. And that's why we're also encouraging our partners around the world to create programs that speak to the aspirations and needs of young people. Let us work together to ensure that the next generation have a voice in our conversations and debates about the future of the world. And let us give them the tools to shape this future by unleashing their innovative and creative potential. I'm very pleased to be able to celebrate World IP Day with all of you today, and we look forward at WIPO to working with you to bring about a world where IP truly serves everyone. Thank you very much.
As said by our Director General, WIPO's mission is to help develop a balanced and effective IP ecosystem, one which sees intellectual property act as a powerful catalyst for jobs, investments, business growth, economic development, and social vibrancy in every region of the world. Every April 26, we celebrate World Intellectual Property Day as a way to help achieve this mission and to help inform the role that intellectual property rights play in encouraging innovation and creativity. World IP Day 2022 recognises the huge potential of young people to find new and better solutions that support the transition to a sustainable future. As at WIPO, we want to help bring IP to everyone everywhere. This goal is also important for us as we're working in supporting the youth today. Across the globe, young people are stepping up to innovative challenges, using their energy and ingenuity, curiosity and creativity to steer a course towards a better future. It is the fresh perspectives of today's youth, their energy, their curiosity, and their can-do attitude, not only to mention their hunger for a better future, but are already working to reshape approaches and drive action. Creativity are around 1.8 billion young people under age in 90 developed countries. The proportion of young people in 35 is set to increase in the coming years. In all regions, young people are to change, carving pathways to a better future. At WIPO Organisation, we want to help young people find out IP rights, help support them, that can generate income, to create jobs, and to make a positive impact on the world around them. With intellectual property rights, young people have access to some of the key tools they need to advance their ambitions, support innovation in all areas. Innovation is, however, no longer a phenomenon confined to the industrialized countries in Europe and North America. It has grown beyond these regions. And allow me to share some statistics that exemplify this. 7 out of 10 IP filings in the world now come from outside of Europe and North America. They come from Africa, they come from Latin America, and importantly, they come from Asia. In many ways, there is more activity, more IP activity outside of Europe and outside of North America than there ever has been before. IP and innovation is shifting globally. For example, 6 out of 10 research and development dollars are now being spent in Asia. And the biggest movie industry in the world, this is not Hollywood, it's actually India's Bollywood. So when we think about innovation, it is best to not only think about places where innovation started, but to also think about the places where innovation is happening now. This is not just in one part of the world, but all over the world. India is one such innovative country that has made astonishing strides in its development, and it now possesses one of the largest economies in the world. one that is predicted to be the fastest growing major economy in 2022. Behind these figures, real progress and prosperity have been built for so many. However, these figures, I think, speak to a deeper truth. They speak to the enormous potential of the people of India. They reflect also an innate ingenuity going back millennia and the creativity that is an inspiration for the entire world. This can be seen in the realm in which WIPO is focused, the realm of innovation, creativity, and intellectual property. For example, in the recent World Intellectual Property Report of 2022, publication from the World Intellectual Property Organization, it says and shows that India's emergence as a source of innovation and participation is actively growing in global innovation networks. And it is becoming itself a contributing body of scientific knowledge, technology, of advanced goods and equipment. This, I'm sure, is known to all of you here in the audience, and is something that has been a growing trend over the last decade. This development is mirrored also in India being one of the largest innovators in the world, and it's grown into the top 10 of the countries have the high percentage and number of resident filers for both patents and trademark applications. In addition, it's worth to note that India has also given the world the concept of Jugaad innovation. Innovation that seeks to understand the local needs and needs of the community around it. Jugaad innovation has delivered on low-cost biodegradable refrigerators, delivering them to villages. It has resulted in small, portable electrocardiogram ECG machines that can connect to mobile phones. Innovations and approaches such as these that have helped countless people, not just in India, but across the world, and helping them when they're in their time of need. And it's from these traditions and these experiences that the world has sought to learn from India. The World Intellectual Property Report itself notes that the US firm GE relied upon its own Indian subsidiary to re-engineer technologies to make its own small ECGs to help in times of need and crisis. Through these innovations, we're grateful for the growing innovation system in India and the use of IP by its community. In our vision, in WIPO's vision, we see a world where innovation and creativity from anywhere is supported by IP for the good of everyone. With India emerging as a leading innovator in the world and one that has already contributed so much globally, we would like to see this trend continue. Focusing on assisting the youth better harness their innovative ideas is one way of consistent with India, not just itself, but all other countries across the globe. We greatly value India's strong and continuing contribution to these efforts and the immense potential in the areas of IP, innovation, and creativity. You can therefore count on the world properly Thank you very much for your invitation for me to be here, and I wish you all the best for the rest of your webinar. Thank you.
So we heard the message from the Director General of WIPO and the Counselor from the World Intellectual Property Office. So though there was some blurring in the voice of Mr. David, we will try to get the written speech what they spoke. If any of the participants are interested, we will circulate it to them. You please write to us. So we thank WIPO also for partnering with us in this great event. Aditya?
Yeah, sir. So we'll just move on to our next speaker, sir. Here, I would like to invite another very special keynote speaker here, Professor Ajit. Professor Ajit D. Alvis, who's joining us, who's the Chief Innovation Officer at NIA, and he's joining us, I believe, all the way from Colombo. So if you would just please come ahead and give your keynotes. Thanks.
Thank you, Aibo and Namaste from Sri Lanka, and also from the behalf of National Innovation Agency. Thank you for the invitation extended to partner this event. And as a young organization, we are very happy to be with you today. And let me share my few slides. I hope that's okay to demonstrate and to in celebrating today's So we have been, you are today celebrating a International Intellectual Property Day. We know, and we have been listening to the importance of IP, and also the importance of youth to understand the value in charting their basically looking at the future. We must also understand the respect that one should have for the intellectual property should also be present. And I think that's also a reminder that we should be sending the message to youth. Specifically, as we are in a digital generation, we speak of digital natives, and sometimes this understanding may not be present, or they may not well understand it unless you inculcate it from an early stage. And it's happy to note about the efforts taken at education to position intellectual property at a young level. And the scenario of innovation and protection and wealth, it's very much important today for Sri Lanka. And that's what I want to highlight. It's for all nations and for all of us. However, there's a kind of very important for Sri Lanka this time. Just to highlight why, if you go back, actually, we are quite proud of some of the state-of-the-art contributions that we have made in the past. Of course, going back into renewable energy-driven the steel industry, and we speak of Damascus steel, the steel from Serendib, using wind energy, like the tallest brick structure, Jethavanarama Stupa in Anuradhapura, still standing. And at the time, it's almost a little below the Giza pyramid. And then, of course, the first hospital system with surgical tools, etc., quite authenticated. This is validated. And we also boast of the hydraulic civilization, the cradle of hydraulic civilization, which in turn led to the granary of the East. However, unfortunately, this is the past. And today the times have changed, and we seem to have lost our way. And we are certainly today joining with you today in a very interesting time period. Something where the youth of the country has taken to the streets. And as we speak, we have been having kind of like non-stop agitation, but I'm sure Gandhiji would have been very proud of the way the young generation has been responding to this situation, the way they have been acting, and they have been positioned themselves to get the message across, but yet how they are doing that. You can see probably an interesting title because the young and the IP hear the message. So it says that you messed up with the wrong generation. It's one signpost that you may be seeing if you come to Colombo today. However, the importance is a message from Kaufman is that a country can only have peace and prosperity when its people truly own the economy. And this is a message. And here we're talking about how intellectual property supports the growth. We know it adds value. That's what we have been mentioning. And so peace and prosperity, something that the prosperity aspect is something our economy right now needs, having almost declared an inability to service external debt. So we are in a very, very difficult situation. However, as a young institute, an organization, National Innovation Agency, we truly believe that it's time for us to rekindle our abilities And specifically, we ask the young who are educated and who are embarking on entrepreneurship to understand the value of this and to generate the value to the economy and also to be global players. And IP is very important, as it was mentioned about the OECD, the values. You protect IP better at home, then you get your foreign direct investment coming better. So it's something we need to understand and we must improve on. Let me see that we have heard, having listened to Dr. Mashelka over time, we know that how India actually entered into this phase of work with positioning intellectual property for growth and putting patents before papers in research. And the situation that developed after CSR basically started having patent sales to United States and so on with the superior research and developments and so on. We also kind of tested, for India, this was after 1990. And for us, we tested this in 2011. Of course, our party was with India. And when our nanotechnology initiative started slow release fertilizer, and we had the first international patent sale of this magnitude to an Indian company, and it was interesting. We had our private sector who promoted it, and also the Indian ambassador present in Colombo, along with the ministers. So it is a very interesting time when we saw the potential of intellectual property properly managed and the potential that it brings to us. And that's, I think, it's a lesson to be learned. So if it was for next generation nano solutions. But again, like past, we appeared to have lost. So it was very interesting in recently. We had India delivering 100 tons of nano fertilizer to Sri Lanka recently, having a kind of a fertilizer crisis in the country. So while we had a patent sale, we saw something coming back. So, I mean, it's very interesting. So I suppose, Professor Purushottam, that this certainly calls for a case study, probably a joint case study on this, and definitely lessons to learn. So the situation the young should understand is whatever in the area that we work, and then also the government. So scenarios like the Google and how much of value they're having, for instance, like recent evaluation, the valuation of like 1,853 billion of valuation, whereas our Sri Lankan economy today is about 82 billion. You can see what this type of an activity that brings value to institution and along the way to the economies in general. And we all can speak of Apple and the Steve Jobs and so on. So it will be not just science and technology, it's also about creative talent being developed and protected and exploited, and that create real value. So you see the valuations of patents, and going this path properly done, you can see how it the intangible assets value, how it accrue to an economy. Give an example that's below. Also, the decision makers, policy makers should also understand the value of investments in creating such areas when there are serious return on investment that can happen. For instance, like when United States funded the genome project, human genome project, it was a one-off sunk cost, and the calculations today indicates that for $1, there's more than $142 in return. I mean, you can see the enormous value in the value that's been created. Those are lessons that we also should have, how to properly align the activities that we are doing when you generate knowledge, how to bring in the IPR system, and then ensure that the economy stands to benefit. So it's very important. And we know the youngsters have not just confined themselves to IT, because we see a lot of examples from IT. But however, when we see the journey of Elon Musk today, and he has also looked at democratizing patents as well, in a way that opening up his patent portfolios. But the disruptive innovation across the different fields, like from a single planetary living to multi-planetary living concept of Elon Musk, right? So much of advancements taking place from the intellectual side and realization on ground and delivering results. So it's not just IT, it's across all sectors, and that's something we all come to understand. So for Sri Lanka, we have seen this wavering behavior when we see the Global Innovation Index position of the Sri Lanka. You can see it on the top. It's not. It's fairly going around, moving across from 85th place to the hundreds and then coming down. So we know it's not been properly addressed. So we are kind of drifting in the innovation space, but not in a good position. So we have now strongly looking at how to get a new paradigm, and that is something the National Innovation Agency is pushing. A new development paradigm for resource-based economics and knowledge-based economics coming together. Usually there are prescriptions of, okay, we are in the knowledge-based era, or you can do with your economy should be on service-based and so on. But we firmly try to push in that collect resources and add knowledge, and then coupling that, generate knowledge and value, and then look at innovation-led growth. And at this stage, I think it's of real value to us, though we need to do some very quick stuff as well, because we are almost like in an ICU these days. Another strong thing we have, NIA has coming out with how to take intellectual property into rupees, because our Sri Lankan policy at the moment is not tapping onto intangible assets and valuations. Again, a case looking back at nano fertilizer story of we selling to India, and then subsequently we receiving the fertilizer in return. So that's what I was really referring to as a learning point. There's points to learn from there. So we have been pushing this IP into rupees, and to quickly say that what we have been doing, and so we are positioning National Innovation Agency for the national economy across multiple sectors, from social innovation elements, science and technology, defense innovation, and environmental innovation, so important in this climate crisis, and including service innovation, so services and so on. So you can see that the concept of innovation is being tackled across. And also we are trying to have open innovation concept in trying to resolve answers. And we try to do this in a completely a digital platform to end this presentation. Just to highlight, we would try to bring in open innovation concept to address the issues and promote parties to contribute in that way and have issues being resolved and then creating value. So this is a model that we have been following across these different innovation pillars, and then bringing the concept of open innovation to encompass all. And creating the ecosystem is one of the objectives. And it was mentioned in the introduction, the chief guest, that about India looking at a commercialization agency. NIA was set up with the mandatory goal of the main goal of commercialization. So it's interesting to hear a recommendation made in India. We have taken the steps to, we have it. I mean, NIA is to on commercialization. And in all these areas, we want to get into this point of the value chain, right? Because we see results, we see the economy change once we have this aspect of commercialization. And Sri Lanka so far has lost out at that point, and that's why we have come up with this institute. A few tools is connecting the innovation dashboard. You know, the digital natives and all that. So we understand the importance of digital tools in this complete innovation management. So that's why from the very beginning, we have been looking at digital tools to connect and to push our activities across. So like innovation dashboard is for the entire ecosystem. The LabNet is about instrumentation coupling, and so making more of with less. You know, we don't have lots of money to have expensive equipment right at each and every other's place. So we are connecting, and I must admit that this concept came from the Indian iSTEM model. That was our learning point for this activity in Sri Lanka. So it's interesting of knowledge transfer and utilizing that. So LabNet connects institutions and enable equipment. This is all in the starting stages, as I mentioned, because NIA is about 4 months old. Also, bringing the research and developments to the market via investment is a platform that is B2P Sri Lanka, that is business to people, where the funding may come if they find these are the business models that are available, where you have solutions and proven technologies with a certain industrial readiness stage identified. So this is another tool that we have put in, and all these are now being put into one platform. That's what we are finally trying to accomplish to move forward with our work. So these are just an introduction to what we do, and to demonstrate that how much we value intellectual property, the protection, and working along the lines with innovation to derive things. So it's my last comment is a principle, a philosophy that we follow from a philosopher from Sri Lanka, who actually passed away before our independence from the British. But he had the foresight to say long before maybe MBAs and so on, that he came up with this: the nation which does not create new things will not arise. And that's a really an applicable message today for Sri Lanka, very much considering the problems, the situation that we are in. But this is a focus, one of the points that the NIA operates on. So with that, again, thanking for the opportunity given to National Innovation Agency to showcase us, as well as to join hands and probably forge links to have further work together later on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Ajit, for sharing your wonderful thoughts and a very nice concluding remark, which is very, very appropriate for all of us today. Not only it is applicable to Sri Lanka, it is applicable to universally for all the countries, all the nations. So this reminds us why we should celebrate World Intellectual Property Day, that creates the culture, that creates awareness, that brings people together. So thank you very much once again for taking time in spite of your busy schedules, for participating and sharing your experiences and presenting Sri Lankans strategies and the programs to promote innovation. Really, I had the opportunity to visit your institute 3 years back. So that is how I'm also thankful to your colleague, Dr. Vindhya, for connecting us again to share some of our perspectives, and look forward. These platforms will give us more opportunities to work together and to share our knowledge, experiences for the benefit of our nations. Thank you once again.
Thank you. I hope this is another beginning for us to join hands and work together.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Aditya, please take over.
Sir, yes, sir, absolutely. I think, I think Professor Ajit just hit the nail on the head by, talking about how important innovation is. And I think, just like wishing him all the best. It's like a new agency, just like a nascent agency right now. But I think we are all here to just learn and collaborate and see as to how we could, achieve common goals together. Having said that, I think, sir, you have a quick announcement to make, Purushottamji, in terms of the awards and all that. So you want to just do that?
Yeah, friends, again, we are very happy to make an announcement, to promote the IP culture, IP awareness in the state of Andhra Pradesh. As the Andhra University has been designated by the state government as an IPR nodal agency, so what we thought in the first place is that let us try to create the IP literacy, awareness. So to create that kind of an awareness and to create the IP literacy among the students, we conducted a quiz competition, among the students of Andhra Pradesh only. So there were many requests come from other states, but we thought, being a state nodal agency, we thought it would be more appropriate to create that kind of awareness within the state itself as a first measure. So we made this announcement and communicated this circular to the best of our ability to whomever we reach. We gave a press release and we sent it to various colleges, around some 618 or 19 people have registered for this quiz competition, and we shared that questionnaire online, and we have given some certain amount of time. So at least there was also some kind of a fear that people may, since it is a open examination, people may copy it, but we thought doesn't matter. At least even to answer that, they will do some kind of a research. They go through the Google and they will find out. There could be some kind of a possibility of getting help from outside, because it is all virtual. Virtual. That is a challenge still now. It is not a proctored examination. It is a. But the controlling factor here is that the questions we have chosen in such a manner that even if you do Google, you will not get answers for some of those questions. And the other factor is that the time. Within the questions given are more, and if somebody wants to spend some time in Googling and answering, he will lose anyway his marks. So people who really have got the skills, knowledge in that area only ultimately could do well. So we have made the 3 categories of prizes: the first prize, second prize, and third prize. The amount would be decided soon, though we made some amount, but there is a possibility, and we are trying to enhance even that cash award. And all these winners would be given a cash award plus a e-certificate, to show that they have participated, the kind of marks they got. So this certificates and the cash award would be given through the hands of our Honorable Vice Chancellor. They will be communicated, and the awardees are the first prize, who got highest marks, 46 marks out of 50 marks. One, Anjali Nidavolu. She is a pharmacy student from AU College of Pharmacy, and she got the highest marks, 46 marks out of 50, and she is the winner of the first prize. The second prize, also is a very keen and tough competition. The person got 45 marks out of 50. The first mark is 46. The second prize goes to a person who got 45 marks out of 50. And that is, prize has gone to Maram Anasuya Kumari. She is again a mathematics student of AU Science College. Then the third prize has been shared by 5 people. The third prize also has been given to people who got 44 marks. And if you see the difference in marks between first prize and third prize, hardly 2 marks. That is the kind of a competition these students have undergone. The third prize was shared by 5 people. The 5 people are the first person in this group is that Nimmakuri Sukriti. She is again from a pharmacy college of AU. And second prize has gone to Pulla Sirisha. Again, she is also from pharmacy college. The third person, Balabhadrani Naga Satvik, is from AU Law College. And the fourth person is Renu Sravanti Dameti. The fifth person is that Sheikh Bhavana, AU College again. So all these 5 people, in fact, all the prizes have gone to Andhra University only. Though the participation is from across the state, from all the districts. So the reason for, I think, the Andhra University students doing well is that we have been teaching this IPR course, for the last 1 year here. All these students have undergone this 1 semester IPR course. Obviously, they will be having more knowledge about the IPR system, the IPR ecosystem as a whole in India. That could be the reason why all the prizes have gone to students of Andhra Pradesh only. Because IPR is not taught anywhere in the state as a mandatory credit course. Almost these students have undergone this course almost for 1 semester for about 3.5 months. So that could be the reason. And I congratulate all the winners of this IPR AP Champions quiz, which is one of the toughest quiz I could see from my experience point of view. But these people will be formally informed, all the winners, and they will be invited to the Honorable Vice Chancellor's chamber to receive the cash award and also the certificate. Thank you, and all the best, and you should aim higher and better, in this IPR area, because IPR is offering a lot of career opportunities also, every corporation requires IP specialists. Every government organization, research laboratories requires IP experts. So IP is emerging as even a career opportunity, and people who start early in this, who build up skill sets in this area, definitely they will do better and they will enjoy their jobs. Thank you very much. And floor is back to Aditya.
Yes, sir. Thank you again, and many congratulations to all the winners. And I think hats off to your innovation and applying for the IPR. And I'm sure it does definitely have to do something with the IPR course that is made available at AU. I'm sure you get a lot of knowledge and I think insights into it. So now the floor is open to questions to all the participants who would like to ask questions directly to the panelists or to somebody in specific in mind if you have. And I believe you could ask these questions over the mic. Sir, is that correct? Can you just directly ask questions, sir?
It is a great opportunity. A lot of experienced experts, though there are not many, but in different countries' perspectives. If you got any questions, you please come forward. Either you put in the chat box, or you can ask directly also.
Sir, I'll just get this started, sir, because being a journalist, we always have questions to ask. So I think I'll just have a quick couple of questions. One is to, I think, to John, and also also to like Professor Ajit. Just keeping in mind that that we are a very nascent country in terms of establishing our own IPR and getting our own IPR ecosystem correct. John, as you've seen the best IPRs across the world, and you've come across a lot of innovation also. What would you suggest are the main impediments or the main hurdles that our country basically sees, and as to how can we address them?
John is online or is left?
Thank you, Aditya. Yes, I'm here, Dr.
Oh, great.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I'll just share. I think the number one issue around the world is enforcement, and enforcement is becoming more and more challenging, especially now that so much more is available online, and online digital piracy of copyrighted works is rampant the world over. And we all seek ways to be able to track it, monitor it, take it down, but unfortunately, it's a lot of effort you have to go through to take down a site with pirated content. And then if you're successful after a big battle, then they just open up another website. So it's not like you're tearing down a brick and mortar facility or destroying counterfeit products. It's all just translates across the ether into another site. So it's very, very challenging to track. And I think that's something all countries are grappling with right
now. Good, thank you. Any more questions? Professor Ajit, you have to respond to the question of Mr. Aditya. You have anything to offer?
I would like to get the question again, because I was just thinking from a very different perspective. But if Aditya wants to get the question again.
Aditya?
Sir, Professor Ajit, I just, we were just wondering that, countries like ours, who are just forming their main IP ecosystem, what are some of the key challenges that you face, in terms of either is it convincing the government, or I'm sure you guys already have the will to do this, but what are some of the main impediments that you see in getting this rolled out?
Right. I mean, you put the three countries, the US, India, and Sri Lanka. But the lesson that Sri Lanka we can take is from the India is how, when I mentioned this initial phase of how when Dr. Mashelka perhaps was showcasing in his book on the journey on the CSR, that how the research was aligned, that the concept of this patents, patent first and publish next, or right, not publish or perish, but the first going for patents. I mean, this is a key area that we have to probably a challenge that awaits us. In more, we have two type of ecosystems. We have young inventors. We have a program called annually an event called Sahasak Nimayum, that is 1,000 inventions coming together in one place. We are showcasing this, and primarily this is populated by school students, quite a young age group representation there. And the other group, other ecosystem is from the university researchers and so on, who has really a much more strong S&T background and so on. You see the awareness on intellectual property is quite at a very low level. And even for those who are very much focused on protecting, the support services have not evolved to the extent. Now that is where a big challenge awaits us. Our legal profession is not, you know, that even if you take India or even US, you find the very much literate in science and technology moving into do law and then coming into intellectual property regimes, right? Work in the IP area. Now that is almost absent in our country. So that's also a significant challenge to understand the value and how to proceed. So the scientists and the researchers themselves have, I know the journey that happened with nanotechnology, the patents. The scientists themselves carried on the burden of developing them, but of course they won, managing it through USPTO as well. But that's a big challenge, right? So I think this missing the support services and the emphasis that these are areas that need to be developed, like having in curricula and then people moving on, need to be addressed. And also legal profession finding very lucrative opportunities in different fields like civil, contract, and maybe even criminal. With a very poor IP activity, they don't find themselves moving in this direction. So it's a chicken and egg also. You need to improve this. You need to bring people in, but people are coming in when they see more rewards from that sector, and the rewards are missing. So you see, so those are the challenges which we like to address. I mean, an example like you see in Korea, when the decade of growth in South Korea, there's these patents, intellectual property, and the legal support in pushing them through was quite a very positive correlation. That positive correlation was present, and you can see that. Now that's something we need to understand and implement. But I think we have an understanding of the challenges. It's about getting the decision makers and the rest of the community together to have these results. But of course, we are in a seriously challenging time these days. That actually aggravates the problem. But our way of looking at it, this is a nice opportunity to push innovation, to get the economy really on track and to change it. Innovation is the way to go. And so we are hoping this dangerous situation turned into an opportunity. That's what NIA expects. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Aditya.
Yes, sir. So just again, anybody who has questions, can directly ask questions to any of the panelists that you would like to get answers from. As Dr. Purushottam said, these are extremely coveted people, and we've been fortunate enough to have an access to them in terms of, getting them to speak during this webinar. So please go ahead and ask your questions. Also, I would also like to bring about another aspect to it, and I think which is a very crucial aspect of this is from the same industry that I come, is the industry. A lot of times, I think a lot of problems come from the industry side, that they do not appreciate or they do not really value IPs, especially the MSME sector, right? So how does one go across convincing the MSME sector and making them realize, just to brainstorm over here, does the government, would the government come forward and probably incentivize them, or probably tell them about certain schemes that they could really take benefit from, because IP also has to be supported equally from the industry side. And these are not the big R&D industries, not the big large scale corporate sector. These are the small and medium scale industries who can really benefit from getting royalties over a period of time. So again, sir, Dr. Purushottamji, this is also open to you, to John, to Professor Ajit, if anybody wants to answer on that aspect too.
Yeah, Aditya, a country like ours, such a huge in terms of area, number of stakeholders. We need to really do a good homework, to reach out to all the stakeholders. That is a big challenge. Still, we have challenges in reaching out to the last mile connectivity for any program, not only IPR. Even for organizing this today's program, though we have so many participants who could have joined, but due to lack of reaching out to them, the mechanisms or the systems, we were not able to get. I was expecting at least 5,000 participants, both in YouTube and our program, because the IPR is such an important subject. We have so many students across the country, but still, the major challenge still, in my opinion, is reaching out to them, So that is, I think, the scale up and the mass momentum is, I think we need to take the advantage of technology and reach out to them. So the schemes and the policies of any government are always good. Their aim is to support them, encourage them, so that they will get benefited, they will contribute to the socio-economic development. But still, the challenges of reaching out to them is a big challenge for MSMEs, or even, for that matter, any stakeholder in our system. So the media also plays a very important role. So you people also should come forward and come out with cost-effective, innovative solutions, reaching out, connecting the grassroots. That is the biggest challenge. When I organize several programs, I always find this problem. I don't have a solution for that. When I was in the government, we wanted, we launched several schemes, but at the end of the year, we used to surrender 30%, 40% of the budgets given to us because of not able to reach to the customers, not able to reach to the concerned stakeholders. And of course, after reaching also, the stakeholders also should have got adequate knowledge, adequate experience, in getting the benefits from the government schemes. So there is always a mismatch between what the government wanted to do and what the stakeholder, the actual beneficiary wanted to get from government, So this is again a big challenge. I don't know when we are going to resolve this issue. I think that is very, very important. Technology should come in our way to address this challenge. Professor Ajit, you wanted to share some of your perspectives?
Yeah, on a IPR point, I don't know. I see a scenario of like what China has done. China has done with say like supporting with utility patents or the petty patents that we say that internally giving a kind of like an opportunity in a very quick way to protect something and exploit, which of course do not cross boundaries, but internally there is some sort of acknowledgement and availability for the person to exploit them. It's not utility concept. Utility patent is not an opportunity in our IP law in Sri Lanka currently, but something again that we are identified in order to support the SMEs. I mean, if you take Sri Lanka also, not just SMEs, but if you take MSMEs, the micro and small and medium enterprises, you are talking about 90% or more of the entrepreneurship scene, right? So it's a big chunk of the system, and they do have their ways of. I mean, you find that some have this interest, but ability to exploit is not there. So I don't know. I feel that the concept of utility patents being brought in and supporting them is a way to go as well. Maybe you can comment on that.
In India too, we don't have the utility patents. Only a few countries, they have adopted the utility patents also, which have a lesser validity and less stringent inventive step or non-obviousness, as long as there is utility, that is also
Yeah.
a policy in different countries. Though most of the countries complies with the WTO TRIPS agreement, but there was some flexibility in the countries' intellectual property laws. So some of these countries, they have a utility patents, like US also has got a utility patent to models and the policy. Mr. John, you would like to share some of your experiences with reference to USA with regard to the utility patents, whether they are, how they can be leveraged, or how it can help the MSMEs, the small entities, as mentioned by Mr. Aditya.
Sure. And just to the first part of that question, small businesses, medium, small enterprises, are always weary of intellectual property because it's expensive, it's time consuming, and as they're developing their own business models, they have to decide, do I buy, do I hire a patent attorney and pursue my invention, or do I hire new engineers to help me advance my technology even further? So it's always a challenge. I saw something recently that I liked that said, but if you don't protect it, you can't say it's yours, you can't claim it. And it's true, you need to, it's especially these small companies, they try to avoid IP until they need IP. And then it becomes much, much more challenging for them. And sometimes it can destroy them if they haven't protected themselves effectively. So there's a lot of risk mitigation that companies need to do, staying out of the public domain, and until they can get some patent protection on the books. We have utility patents. We do not have utility models. I think that might be what you were referencing earlier. But we've had utility patents since our inception, and they are very effective in protecting inventions in all aspects of invention and claim scope. Utility models, I understand that's something that India is looking into doing. I don't have a comment as to, because I'm not sure where that stands here in India, and we don't have a comparison in the US. We do have design patents in the US. So the combination of all the forms of intellectual property between utility patents, design patents, plant patents, as well as trademarks, copyrights, trade secrets, geographic certification marks, they all work in tandem together. Sometimes they overlap, sometimes they don't, and it just goes back to that one little piece of advice I always like to give startups is, get all the advice that you can, but ultimately it's your business strategy. It should have an IP strategy, but don't always listen to what people tell you. Just because I've heard too many times where my mentor said, "Don't bother getting a patent," and then they were, they really hurt their business interest by taking that advice. So get the advice you need, get the help you need, but ultimately the decision you have to make is yours.
Aditya, floor is back to you. Hope you got some answers for your queries.
Yeah, sir. Actually, it's so surprising that as you just stated, that awareness is still a very big channel, and I think everywhere that I read, I at least have a few articles on the IP ecosystem, which is going around. But I think it still needs a lot of deeper penetration. I think across the country, and I think also across students. Just a thought. I don't know if we have something like this at under a university, sir. Do we have a toll-free number or something like that? Say, suppose somebody has a quick question to ask, or somebody wants to even just know about the IPR courses at the university. So I don't know if you've been contemplating about having a toll-free number, or just getting some of the basic IP questions answered, and they could probably come in to take a course. So it could be like a teaser in terms of for them to come and get to know more about it.
Yeah, I think we can discuss it probably offline, because time is almost going to be over.
And we're happy to share best practices on
And
our in our assistance centers and things like that.
Our registrar, Professor Krishna Mohan, has joined. I request him to offer few remarks. His perceptions, he is a management professor, very well-known professor in the management, and he is also very passionate to promote IP culture in the university. So I request Professor Krishna Mohan to offer his remarks. Sir.
Yeah. Good evening, all of you. It's my pleasure to be here on the occasion of this webinar on intellectual property right and innovation as the theme for youth to survive in the years to come is a great initiative from IPR Chair of Andhra University. IPR needs no emphasis in the context of today's highly connected global markets and also the globalization process made IPR almost mandatory to become global level market leaders. So innovation, as all of us know, is the key to economic progress leading to social progress. Innovation, innovative products and services, ultimate for deciding market leadership. Unless you are innovative, you cannot be competitive. You cannot survive in today's cutthroat competitive markets. So that innovation is one part, and protecting that innovation when you enter into world markets is going to be the next immediate concern. Protecting one's own intellectual property is need of the hour because of highly copying and imitative products all over the world markets. So whatever R&D expenditure that industry spends on those innovations, if they are not safeguarded, properly protected, say the development cost can never be recovered. So the IPR process is inevitable if you want to survive and grow in modern industrial world. That is how the youth should be oriented right from their studies of important intellectual property. Intellectuality is abundantly available, but recognizing that intellectuality, registering that intellectuality is very, very important, and that orientation is provided by creating awareness and also sensitization among the younger generation that how much intellectual property is going to be the wealth of not only individual, it is the wealth of a country, wealth of a nation, wealth of society at large. So, organization of webinar highlighting these aspects, inculcating the culture of innovation among the younger generation who are going to be the future entrepreneurs, future businessmen, and the future employees, definitely go a long way in building required amount of awareness and also sensitization. That is the objective why the government of India has created IPR chairs. Ever since that IPR chair has come to Andhra University, we have been doing our part. We made IPR courses mandatory. As a result, students in large number, when they mandatorily study and appear for examination, now they are realizing how important is IPR to an individual and to the business community for the economic progress and the social development. Unless there are innovations, the progress of a country is not possible. So as I said earlier, innovation is abundantly available if you encourage them, if you protect them, if you introduce the procedures by which, simplified procedures by which you are going to register the patent, protect the patent, and maintain such patents years together, so that the industry is going to survive, the competitive ability of the industry is going to be there, and now the competition is not national level, it is world level, global level. When world markets are unified, any new product that is introduced in one market can be made available anywhere in the world market. So there is every possibility such highly innovative products are duplicated in no time. So if you are able to register, protect, so such imitation can be regarded as an infringement. So heavy penalties are imposed. And of course, laws from country to country change. The terms and conditions do change. But if there is a world level platform where all these terms and conditions are also made uniform, definitely the economic progress, not only of one country, the whole world is going to achieve and fulfill. Ultimately, the social objective is well-being of individual in a society, and how that is made possible through his IPR is to be linked properly. And once people are made to realize this aspect, and IPR activity is going to build nations with competitive ability, that is how you can command leadership and respect in world markets. If you look at the Indian scenario, definitely to the size of population, again and again, in such platforms, I repeat, our representation in terms of IPRs registered so low when compared to such advanced countries. So unless people put efforts together in India, Indian market, and sensitize people concerned and allocate resources for huge resources for encouragement of R&D, this IPR culture cannot be inculcated, and true industrial progress can never be achieved without IPR protection. So I take the opportunity, wish all the participants on the occasion of Foundation Day celebrations of Andhra University, organization of such a useful webinar, very contextual in today's globalized markets. I congratulate the organizer, especially the IPR chair, Professor Purushottam, for having given a thought to organize the World IPR Day. Incidentally, on the same day, Andhra University is celebrating its 97th annual Foundation Day. So I offer my greetings to all of you on the occasion. Wish all of you best of luck. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for your kind and very inspiring address. You are, in fact, a major source of strength for our activities here. So because you understand, you realize the importance of IPR. So that is why whatever activity we propose, always you give 100% support to it. So we are able to do whatever little we could do to the society, we are able to do with your constant encouragement, support, and we are all very grateful to you, the entire IPR team at Andhra University. Thank you very much, sir. And I could see Professor Vijayalakshmi Madam, the principal of Law College of Andhra University. Madam Vijayalakshmi Garu. Madam Vijayalakshmi Garu, if you wanted to a few remarks being you are also, I think she's not, she's talking somewhere else. మీరు mute చేశారా? Madam Vijayalakshmi garu, thank you for joining us, and it is your day. The entire IPR belongs to law, you know.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you,
We are
sir.
trying to, engineers are trying to encroach law, trying to learn something.
Yes.
So kindly
Yes, sir.
offer your remarks, madam, on this occasion, the World Intellectual Property Day, which you are also a teacher.
Sure.
You have been teaching, guiding, helping all our students.
Yes. Okay. Sir. Okay, right, sir. Congratulations to you, sir, for holding such a beautiful webinar. And I just saw one of my students, Satvik. He got the second, third prize or so.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Thank you so much, madam,
Thank you.
for being available,
Okay, right.
participating in this event.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, Aditya, I think you can conclude.
So yes, sir. Again, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Professor Krishna Mohanji, for giving us a very nice closing remark. And I think just summarizing everything into into the whole perspective about what IPR is, and I think how important IPR is in today's day and age. So again, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, our panelists from John Quebecer for joining us. Thank you, Professor Ajit, joining us from Sri Lanka. Purushottamji, again, how much ever we say about you is very less. You just take the lead without getting sometimes even people asking you to take it. So I think you always take the initiative, you always take the lead, and very aptly supported by your university, by Professor Krishna Mohanji, the honorable Vice Chancellor, and thank you for having us here. And thank you again, and we look forward to having some of these similar sessions going forward.
Thank you. We look forward for a good summary in your newspaper on this event. So that people who miss to attend this program, they can get the insights and the experiences of all the speakers, the key points, what they've discussed.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your kind presence and sharing your perspectives and making this program a grand success. I think in both YouTube and the live, around some 400 people have rebuild Andhra Pradesh with all the institutions, the culture, and the infrastructure, so that Andhra Pradesh will be in the top 3 states in the Union of India with reference to the patent filings. That is our goal. In the next 3 to 5 years, we wanted to achieve that. Now we are at 10th or 11th position. We need to reach the first 3 positions in the next 3 years. So we need the support from all of you, particularly the media, to create awareness, to write more success stories, to write the benefits of IP, how IP benefits to the socio-economic development. That is what is important. So, and moreover, the students, I think that is very, very important. If you want to bring a society of innovators like Israel, I think the media and the education system has to play a major role. No, I was told in Israel, the entrepreneurship innovation is start from the age of 6 onwards. But whereas even we don't know the word patent, even after we complete our PhD here, that is the status. So we need to really bring such kind of reforms in our IPR regime, so that the country will emerge and will be able to realize its full potential of the innovative ideas which we boasted upon. Thank you very much once again to all of you. Have a good day. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. John. Thank you, Mr. Ajit, and all the participants.